Well, as I told you, a very important part of, let's say, academic paper or academic essays is doing a lot of research. And this research has to be reflected in your writing. I mean, you will have to mention the facts and the information that you have gathered or that you have read about in many different sources. You will have to include some of them in your writing because they, as I told you before, can make, let's say, your points strong. But you will have to mention them. That, for example, what you are discussing or what you are mentioning is part of what somebody, I mean, a writer believes in, for example, this article or in this book, to avoid plagiarism. And by plagiarism, I mean using the works of other people in your own writing under your own name. So, in order to avoid this plagiarism, we need to, let's say, refer to the information and mention that this is something, this is a sentence, or this is an idea from this writer. We will have to mention this. This is what we mean by in-text citation. So, because we said the writing will depend on a lot of evidence, and the evidences are not provided as if evidences are not provided as support, the ideas presented cannot be trusted. Well, I told you, because it validates the points that you're discussing, and proper documentation is generally expected, which includes providing citations within the text. Like, for example, in your body paragraph, once you've brought a quotation from someone, you will have to mention that this belongs to this person. Well, how can we do this? We have applying in-text citations. That means we will mention that inside the paragraph itself when it's part of the sentence. For example, we say, Yahya 2016. Yahya is the name of the writer. 2016 is the year in which, for example, the writer has expressed this opinion in an article or in a book, found that high-performing ESL readers can cope with all types of stress in reading. So you see, we have mentioned the name and the year at the beginning of the sentence, or you can mention it in the middle, or sometimes you can mention it at the end. So there are many different examples that you can study. We have applying in-text citations at the end of the sentence. You know, sometimes, as I told you, we bring the name of the writer at the end. First, we express the opinion, we bring the sentence, and then we mention at the end of the sentence that this belongs to this person, which is normally in parentheses. So we say high-performing ESL readers can cope with all types of stress in reading, and here we mention the name and the year of publication in a parenthesis. We say Yahya, 2016. So, generally, to mention the ideas of other writers, we have two strategies. One of them is quoting, and one of them is paraphrasing. By quoting, we mean bringing the sentence exactly, the exact sentence that somebody has said in their works without making any changes to the words or to the order of the words. And, normally when we quote something, we will have to have quotation marks. An example is this. We say, according to Jill, 2005. Then we have the sentence that you can see is in parentheses. So first, we mention the name, in parentheses, we mention the year, and then finally at the end, if this is part of a book, for example, we mention the page, like P242. This is the page of the book on which you can find this information. Or you can bring the name of the writer, the year of publication, and the page at the end, and all of that has to be in parentheses. So this is direct quotation, but sometimes instead of bringing quotations, we paraphrase what somebody said. So this is called paraphrasing. That means changing the words and the structure, but we still convey the same message. You're not allowed in paraphrasing to change the idea. All you can do in paraphrasing is changing the structure of the sentence, is making changes to, for example, the words used, to the structure, the grammar of the sentence. Well, an example is here. We say, according to Jill 2005, again, any major language policy amendment in Malaysia needs to be constantly approved by government as they firmly control education matters. So in order to paraphrase this sentence, we need to change some of the words. There is a mistake here. I have duplicated the sentence. That is a mistake. We have poor paraphrasing. This is something later on we will focus on. Poor paraphrasing means when sometimes the students take only some words out of the sentence and replace them with other words. Like for example, this is poor paraphrasing, saying any important language policy improvement. We changed major to important and only amendment to, let's say, improvement. Well, this is weak paraphrasing. Instead, you can change the whole structure of the sentence. For example, here you can say, the government in Malaysia must confirm every important change that takes place, for example, in the language policy, and then the rest of the sentence. You know, this is how we paraphrase the sentence. You will have to change the structure, the word order, and also the words, but of course not all the words. So we have some important features of in-text citations. We have the author's name. We must mention the publication date. We might have correct punctuation. We have the page number, and we have sometimes the repeated work of same author in the same year, if of course there's a work. Then we have basic rules for references. You know, the difference between in-text citation and references is that we bring citations in the middle of the text while we mention the references at the end of the text. I mean, once the article is done, we bring a list of all the, let's say, names of the writers, the articles, the books that we have mentioned inside the article. So there's some information about that, and later we will have numerous examples that you can use, that you can go through to understand what we mean exactly by, for example, all this information and details, like about the punctuation, how we use the author's name, and for example, the date, and the rest. Here, for example, this is how we mention the books, how we mention the edited academic books. And as I told you, the information is not to be all memorized. You can use this as a reference. That means once you start to write an essay, in order to, let's say, bring citations and references, you can refer to these slides, you can look at them, and then after a while, probably after writing many different essays, you no longer have to use these as references because you're already familiar. But till then, you can use these slides as references. This is how, for example, we mention newspapers. We mention the name, then in parentheses we mention the year, we mention the date, for example, like February 12th, and then the rest, and also pay attention to the punctuation. Sometimes we use, let's say, commas, sometimes we use full stops, where we use parentheses. Pay attention to all of them. We have other examples, like for example, how we bring magazine articles as, let's say, reference. How we bring, for example, scholarly journal articles. We have encyclopedias, we have online resources, and many other examples. Well, this is the end of week 1. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope the video has been helpful. We will later discuss the slides in more details. Thank you.